She says she want hood nigga. I keep the perk by the pound. The trunk stay bumped and y'all know we run the town. Hood nigga. And I keep a bad bitch around. Thick bitch, long hair, yellow, white, red, brown. Hood nigga. And my Chevy sitting on 24s. Flats look like flapjack. Pancake, you ain't no hood nigga. I'ma play the game how it go. They can take me out the hood, but I'ma keep it hood, folks. I'm on that good shit, and alcohol. I got some down bitches I can't call. What's that? I don't know what I would do without y'all. I'm a ball till the day I fall. Yeah, long as my bitches love me. I can give a darn about no hate as long as my bitches love me. I can give a darn about no hate as long as these bitches love me. I can give a darn about no hate as long as these bitches love me. I'm on that. Let me tell you about this country shit. Country shit. Let me tell you about this country shit. Country shit. Let me tell you about this country shit. Country shit. Let me tell you about this country shit. Country shit. Country shit. Let me tell you about this super fly, dirt, coast, mud and water. Shorty, pop that pussy if you wanna. Let me tell you about this old school pouring lean, candy yams and collard greens, pocket full of stones, riding clean.
Well, I'm just one parlay away from a new house, new car. I'm just one parlay away. Trust I'ma take us far. I'm just one parlay away. One parlay away. One parlay away. Oh, I took the Chiefs on over, took my homes on yards. Everything is going good so far. Lakers beating the Knicks. Spread is only 6. 2 minutes left in the game, baby. I'm about to hit. Ow!
I need out, yeah, I need out. Blood pressure higher than a body count. Tomorrow she has to go. She's a mama. I think I married a hoe. Married a hoe. I said, mama, I think I married a hoe. I made a mistake, mama. No, oh no. I want you. Your man can't do nothing for you. All these hoes ain't loyal. All these hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. 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 These hoes ain't loyal. When a rich brother wants you and your man can't do nothing for you. All these hoes ain't loyal. Ain't loyal. Whoa, these hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. 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 These hoes ain't loyal.
Don't tell me about me. Stop telling 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 me about me. I don't need you to tell me about me.
Welcome back, y'all, to another one, man. Another episode. Let's talk Jay vs. Jordan, man. Another episode on the JVJ Network and also on the Facebook page, man. If you're watching on any of those and all of those, hit that like, hit that subscribe for you, boy, as usual. You know, we're trying to grow around here. We can only do it with y'all help. Man, y'all know what tonight is, man. We do this every week, every Thursday. We're going to hit them hard. We're going to hit them every time. We ain't finna let this shit die. We're going to talk about cops again tonight, man. Because it never fails. It doesn't take a day. It doesn't take an hour. It doesn't take a minute. We're going to have another video popping up of these people that we put in positions of power in our society doing something that violates a citizen. And I think we need to start paying more attention and actually having a little bit more backbone and supporting our fellow Americans on real things, not this crap that's going on right now, all the little whoop-de-whoop for show shit, actual things that matter. We should expect people that take our tax dollars to do their job and do their job properly. And if they do it wrong, they should always be held to a higher standard than the average day citizen. That's at least my belief. But tonight, I got a few videos for y'all, man, because there was a lot of crazy things happening. And in each one of these situations, somebody could have lost their life, y'all. Could have lost their life. And all because somebody made a mistake or they didn't know what they were or not legally allowed to do. So we're going to break it down. I'm going to try to let them run a little bit before I talk in between them, man. Look, y'all just tune in, get your popcorn, get your soda, you drink whatever you need, you smoke, however you want to pass the time on this one, because you might get a little pissed off about some of these. But let's go ahead and start off with the first one. And shout out to, for this one, I'll say shout out to Chicago Fox in Chicago for this video right here. We're getting a good old body cam. So let's get it, y'all. All right, I ain't got the shit on screen. Hold up, man. I'm over here tripping, y'all. 1 second. Bop, 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 bop. All right, here we go. Let's get it popping. I will stop real quick, though. I will say this. Look, we need to figure out a better placement of body cams because when they got their weapons drawn, you can't see shit. And I think that's on purpose. We need to get those switched around somewhere else, man. That's not a good placement for the body cam, man. Covering up all the scene, all the evidence.
You. You look at me and nobody else. You do what I say, you'll be okay. Real slow, come out of that car. You got that cover?
Got cover. You got it?
Wait for me. Wait for me. Walk back to me. Real slow. Real slow. Real slow. Yeah, move hands on your back right now. Well, I was ready. Come on.
Tom, come up here.
I know a lot of people might be wondering, man, what is going on? Like, what happened for this response? I want y'all to see this shit. It's hilarious and it's sad at the same time.
Gotta be.
Turning over. Hey, Tom, I don't think this is the right car. That's not the right car. This is the wrong car. CSF 79463. Yeah, this is the wrong car.
We're all good.
This is the wrong car.
course not.
Yes, it is.
See it.
The plate don't match. The last 4 or 5 are wrong. It's the wrong plate.
Well, we got to talk to Dan about the fucking drink, you know?
Yep.
Now, from this angle right here, y'all were gonna get to see it from the other officer. I think this is the black officer, the one who told him that he was gonna shoot him in his face. Yeah, we're gonna see it from this angle. Now, if y'all didn't catch on to it, pretty much they were looking for a vehicle. I think it was stolen or something happened. But first off, these guys are super smart because they couldn't figure out that's an Atlas and not a Tijuana. And then also y'all were behind the vehicle and y'all ran the plate. And you said the plate matched up, but when you stop, the plate don't match up to what you're looking for. So let's see it from the other angle. Let's see how, because we're gonna talk about why this is just really bad. I know some people will be like, ain't nobody get hurt, but we're gonna talk about it.
Window down.
Put the window down. Put the window down. Put the window down. Put the window down. Put the window down. Put both of your hands out the window right now. Put both of your hands out the window.
I got commands.
Go ahead.
You, with an outside hand, reach out, open the door. Watch your crossfire. Okay, real slow, left hand, do it from the inside. You come out with a gun, we are going to end you. Do you understand? There you go. There you go. Come on out. I gotta put the time stop. Put it in park. Put it in park. Real slow. Everything real slow.
I'm gonna shoot you in your head if you come up with anything other than that.
All right, real slow.
Don't y'all just love the courtesy that's being extended? I understand you got a job or whatever, and you suspect people are committing crimes, but that's how you talk to the citizens that pay your tax dollars, even if that person did break the law. That's what we want our officers out here in the street threatening to shoot people in their face and stuff like this, talking all crazy, cussing at them. I think that's what we want. I think a lot of people in America actually are okay with that.
Slow down. Slow down. Somebody shut off that siren. Left hand, real slow, across your body, undo your seatbelt. I got you. You look at me, nobody else. You do what I say, you'll be okay. Real slow, come out of that car. You guys got cover? Got cover. I got. Face away from me. Face away from me. Face that car. Walk back to me, real slow. Real slow. Real slow. Now move, hands behind your back right now.
I don't have any weapons. I just came from Costco, dude.
All right, do not move. Do not move.
61 to 10. You guys gotta be down on that. We're gonna explain everything in a minute, but we're gonna do it safe. You want to put him in my car?
Yes, please.
Have a seat. Bring him back to TV. Bring him to one of our interview rooms. I got you.
Can you follow him? Gentlemen, not a word with him. Don't explain what's going on. Don't ask him no questions. Good?
Got you. All right.
Don't explain anything. Okay, here you go. I have an issue with that, but I'm gonna play that part one more time, and I'll tell y'all why I have an issue with that.
Word with him. Don't explain what's going on. Don't ask him no questions. Good?
Got you.
Don't explain anything to him. Don't tell him what's going on. So you suspect this person of committing a crime, apparently, and you drew down on him, and you're not gonna tell him why. You don't have to do that legally, I guess. I guess that's not legally required for them to tell you. I know when you get a ticket, they don't have to tell you why they stopped you. But when they issue the ticket, you find out then. But I'm like, yeah, you got this man draw down on him. Y'all draw down on this dude. You blocked the road off. You pulled up on him all aggressive and shit. And you ain't gonna tell him why you did any of that? Don't talk to him. Don't tell him nothing. All right, I have an issue with that.
All right. Yeah.
No.
Guess he'll find out at the jail.
Sam 20. We're out to the PD 1 mile 95, starting mileage 106972.
I couldn't tell. Did the guy put a seatbelt on? I couldn't tell if he did or not.
Take him out. Wrong car. Take him out. Wrong car.
Hop out, man. Face the car.
So you have the handcuffs. Get you going. Okay, I'm gonna give you some information on who I am. So we talk about what's going on. Okay, but I'm gonna take care of these handcuffs first. Oswego PD had a shooting. Car plates. The car is the same as yours. Plates match with. Wait, hold on.
No.
Hold on.
No.
Look at me.
No.
Plates match. 2 of them are off. All right. That's why you're placed.
Somebody explain that, because that made absolutely no damn sense to me. And shout out to Miss Jackson. Said good evening. All my topic on the panel, you already know it. We gotta cover these guys, man. This is funny. I want y'all to hear what he said again, and tell me because I'm gonna just tell you right now. He's starting off with a lie, and what he said don't even make no damn sense.
Plates match. 2 of them are off.
Plates match.
No.
Plates match. Hold on.
No.
Look at me. Oswego PD had a shooting. Car plates. The car is the same as yours. Plates match with. Wait, hold on.
No.
Hold on.
No.
Look at me.
No.
Plates match. 2 of them are off.
How can the plates match if 2 of them are off? That means they don't match. And y'all gonna hear a little bit later, they got the wrong vehicle. Like, not the wrong vehicle as they stopped the wrong Volkswagen. Stopped the wrong make and model. But we know now there was a shooting. There was a shooting that occurred. So this is how they showing up. Guns are blazing, ready to mop somebody off because somebody shot a gun somewhere. Now, I ain't going to say they shot somebody, did something like that. I understand it's a higher risk situation to try to apprehend them people. But you came in like cowboys, and you got it wrong. I guess your adrenaline's pumping so fast that you just pulled over an innocent man and could have almost ended his life. But we'll talk about that at the end.
All right. That's why you're placed in handcuffs. We thought you were the guy. No. All right. You're not. I understand that. All right. Hey, listen, look at me. I this up. Okay. Understand that?
We know.
This is on me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely on me. Let's clear these roads out of
Y'all threatening to shoot me in the head and shit. Don't move. Put your hands up. Like,
You're right.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, well, listen.
This is ridiculous. I've been out here for 15 years and never have I once in my life. My man, nothing,
But
dude.
you have to look
my
at it.
man, nothing, dude.
Look,
That shit
he's got every right to.
unacceptable.
You are absolutely
Especially you, Harvey. Especially you, bro.
Okay. All right.
What's your name? My name is Derek House, man. I've been out here. I lived in Woodridge for 10. I've been in Downers Grove for 3, man. I'm a upstanding citizen. My kids go to school here. I'm well respected. That's wrong.
You're right. You're right.
You don't do that. You don't do that.
Anything else you want to say to me? Or needs to be?
No, but sure, this was my son.
Fine. You're right.
So pretty much, this man got pulled over. I guess throughout the heat of the moment, they're just out here searching, and really not doing their due diligence with the situation, and end up pulling over an innocent man and literally put his life in danger. And I know for the people's like, well, no, he's fine. All he had to do was just follow the commands and he would be fine. If that man would have made any wrong move, you heard what the other officer told him. He said he'd shoot him in his face. The other one's like, you come up out of that car with a gun, I'm gonna shoot you. Everybody letting them know they ready to put a bullet in him. Any wrong move could have cost that man his life, y'all. Any wrong move. All because somebody wants to not do their job correctly. Because that's pretty much what it comes down to. Somebody not doing their job correctly. Now an innocent civilian is caught up in it. That is a lawsuit. When he said you'll be hearing from my lawyer, they will be. That's an easy lawsuit. That's an easy lawsuit right there. The only beautiful thing about it is, I will say, these cops didn't do what some cops do. Even when they're wrong, they'll take their ass to jail and process them, just run it, just to cover their back. Luckily, they didn't do that this time. But the taxpayers in that county, in that city, y'all gonna be coming out the pocket. I can guarantee you that. But we got another one for you. And this was coming from the civil rights lawyer. Y'all know I fuck with this dude. Make good content all the time. Supposedly this was a stolen car this time. Supposedly this one was a stolen car, but I just want y'all, I don't even want to break it down and give you a gist of what's about to happen. But pretty much you have a janitor or a groundskeeper working at a business complex, a nice little building, and his wife's car is reported as stolen or some shit like that. It's a rental. And he just happened to be doing his job. She works inside the building, and they see the cops outside. So that's where we're going to start, and that's how we're going to get into it. So if y'all ready, I'm ready. Once again, let's get it.
Whose car? Well, we got to figure out because this was reported as unauthorized use. Let's go detain him.
We will have to go to handcuffs.
Turn around.
These police officers mistakenly believe that this car is stolen, but it's not. They found it parked in front of this building. The 60-something-year-old janitor for that building, he knows who's driving that vehicle. He asked them what they're doing, but then he decides he doesn't want to talk to them anymore. He wants to get back to work. Can those cops forcibly detain, handcuff, and then even tase that janitor, even though the man committed no crime, but just because he has information that the cops want?
Answer the keys real quick. Are those your keys?
That's a good question right there. It's a good question. We're going to find out, I guess.
My mother keys.
All right, sir.
Yeah. Talking about these my damn keys.
We're gonna bring it back.
Turn around. Put your hands behind your back now.
So these cops released their own YouTube video claiming that this was completely justified because they had, quote, reasonable suspicion to do this to that man. But I know a few things and I've researched this issue to death. I'll show you why they're wrong. And in fact, they filmed themselves committing a civil rights violation.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it.
So police
Banjo
officers
shit.
in Asheville, North Carolina get this false report from the local Subaru dealership, basically alleging that one of their cars has been stolen. Apparently that turned out not to be true. More on that later. The officers are directed to the car's location via a GPS tracker. One of the officers pulls his gun on the car and holds the car at gunpoint, essentially. Fortunately, nobody is inside the car.
Charlie 3 APD, vehicle's clear.
As the officers are standing around with nothing better to do, talking about the car,
I couldn't tell if anybody was in there, so I just went up and cleared it. I didn't see anybody moving in there. This is a nice car, too. Huh?
the 63-year-old janitor for this building that they're standing in front of walks up to them and engages with them.
What's going on? How you doing? Whose car?
My lady's car.
Charlie 3.
Can we come talk to her real quick?
Well, she's work up in Thrive.
In Thrive?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and point out two things that the cops conveniently ignore in their YouTube video. One of the first things you could notice about this guy, if you looked at him, is that he's wearing his janitorial uniform for this giant building in the background that he's walking from. Janitors usually have keys as well. Secondly, he provides them information that the lady who's driving the car is at Thrive. Now, Asheville's not a huge place. Just a quick Google search reveals that Thrive is a commercial co-working space in Asheville, North Carolina, which just happens to be, from what I can tell, located in the Grove Arcade, which is the building that this guy is the janitor for. Now, just that information right there would have solved their investigation, but they decided to go a different route.
Okay, so who's well, we got to figure out because this was reported as unauthorized use.
We report unauthorized use.
Mm-hmm.
But then he quickly disengages after they start acting like cops are known to act, and he starts to go back to work.
Is that the keys? Let's go detain him.
Oh man. You come this way too?
And this is where the issue is about to transpire. Like, before he even gets into the law and everything, do y'all think that they had enough reasonable suspicion or any type of thing to hold this man against his will when he decided he didn't want to talk to him no more? Who, like, just think about it. Do you think they had enough to say, yeah, we're going over here and we're going to detain this guy? Because I would say no, not even close. But, you know, I would love to see if anybody does think that.
Now, they have no reason to believe that this man committed any crime at all, which he did not. Yet, they immediately threaten to handcuff him, and then they use violence on him, pull out a taser, and threaten to use it on him.
Have me laying against the motherfucking thing. Let me go get the lady who shit that is. You have me laying against shit.
We will have to go to handcuffs. We have to.
Now, he just offered to do something for him. I didn't even hear this the first time I watched this video. He offered to go get the lady. He just said, I'm about to go get the lady who, and it's supposedly his woman, so he know what she is. Like, if they really wanted to get this figured out and get this solved and talk to the person that's driving the vehicle, why would putting him in handcuffs help you do that? When he could take you, you could escort him right up there to go get her. But let's see how they operate.
Real quick, are those your keys?
These my motherfucking keys.
I'm gonna let him say
Use
that shit
violence
again
on
too.
him, pull out a taser, and threaten to use it on him.
Have me laying against the motherfucking thing. Let me go get the lady who shit that is. You have me laying against shit.
We will have to go to handcuffs. We have to.
Answer the keys real quick. Are those your keys?
These my motherfucking keys.
All right, sir. Yeah.
Talking about these
Hands
my
behind your back.
motherfucking keys.
Hands behind your back.
Get your hands
Turn
off me.
around.
Stop. Stop.
Put your hands behind your back now.
Put your hands behind your back.
Body wallet.
Let me go.
Put it. You're gonna get tased.
Let me go for a minute. Hold on.
Put your hands behind your back now. Do it now.
What's the other hand?
Other hand.
Now.
Let your other hand go.
Man, if I don't sue y'all motherfucking stand up on this truth. You good?
Yeah, you're fine.
You good?
Yeah.
Where's
that key at?
Off my arms, man. I'm gonna act nice. How about this off my arms?
Here's how it ended according to the most recent media report. Following the investigation, it was determined that Searles was not involved in the vehicle's theft or possession. In fact, it wasn't a theft at all. He was released without any charges and transported downtown at his request. While at the scene, the woman in possession of the vehicle told officers the allegedly stolen vehicle was a rental and that her car was at the dealership being repaired. She said she didn't know anyone inside the Grove Arcade and did not know why Searles would have approached officers about the car. In accordance with Asheville Police Department's standard procedures, the department conducted an administrative review of the incident. The review concluded that the officers acted within agency policy based on reasonable suspicion to detain Searles.
You don't say. We investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong. Okay.
Key facts included his familiarity with the vehicle and its owner, his possession of keys potentially related to it, and his lack of cooperation during the investigation. This is from the cops, obviously. Despite media reports to the contrary, Searles did not identify himself as an employee of the Grove Arcade. Was he required to? Did they ask? No. And that's basically the argument that they put in their video. So just to sum things up, no crime actually occurred. Now, everybody loves this guy, apparently. A bystander filmed what was happening. The community was outraged. Then a judge ordered that the body cam footage be released. Now, in their video, the cops claimed that they did nothing wrong because they had reasonable suspicion to detain this gentleman for various reasons. Is that true? They said the officers asked Mr. Searles to stop based on reasonable suspicion to question him further as part of their investigation. That reasonable suspicion was based in part on the fact that Mr. Searles approached the reported stolen vehicle with keys in his hands, and
So we already know that's some bullshit. He approached the cops. He approached y'all who happened to be right by the vehicle. He didn't walk up to the vehicle. He walked up and asked them what was going on with the vehicle. We saw that on camera. So that's lie number one.
that he claimed to know the owner and then walked away from the officers.
So pretty much all they have is he claimed he knew the owner of the vehicle and then he walked away because the first one's straight up bullshit. Is that enough reasonable suspicion to apprehend him? Oh, you know who that is? You know who we're looking for? Hey, I'm gonna need you to stop and put your hands behind your back. You can't do that. You can't do that. He's gonna explain to them that they can't do that, even though they said they did nothing wrong.
All right, that is their case for reasonable suspicion. Asheville is in North Carolina. North Carolina is in the Fourth Circuit. There is actually a recent published case out of the Fourth Circuit that dealt with reasonable suspicion. That case is similar to this one. The police were told or believed that a crime had occurred, and they located a nearby individual. They had no information that was particular to that individual that he was involved in any criminal activity, but they knew a crime had occurred and he was nearby. So at the very least, he was a witness, right? And if they want to investigate and they want to detain and question that witness, they should be able to do that, right? According to the cops, according to the Asheville Police Department. Fourth Circuit said absolutely no way. The reasonable suspicion standard, which is a Fourth Amendment constitutional standard, it has to do with suspicion of criminal conduct, not just the cops want to talk to you because investigation. As the court wrote in the opinion, reasonable suspicion to initiate a Terry stop, which is what this is, requires a particularized and objective basis for suspecting that the particular person stopped of criminal activity, not a witness, criminal activity. The court also made clear that government attempts to spin largely mundane acts into a web of deception don't cut it. Ultimately, the court held that the police officers lacked an objective basis to suspect that Milla specifically engaged in any crime and therefore lacked the requisite particularized basis for the stop. If the officers had no objective basis to suspect that Mr. Searles had engaged in any crime, then they had no right to detain him. They had no.
Y'all hear that, right? And even in their own statement to the public, they didn't state a legit reason, a legal reason why they had that man. They had enough suspicion to detain him. Didn't even list it. But you see why I tell people all the time, don't even talk to these motherfuckers, man. Like, you better off running the risk of getting hemmed up. So don't even deal with cops like that. Now, I ain't saying that every cop is bad. I think majority of them are, because I think the system's just fucked up. But don't talk to them. If they come up trying to talk to you, they not trying to come up to be your motherfucking friend. I don't know why so many people think these cops are their friends. I know we see the videos sometimes. They'll be in the neighborhood with the kids, playing with the kids and stuff, and that's good and all dandy and stuff. They talking to you out in public. Majority of the time, they not coming up to be your motherfucking friend. They investigating your ass because they believe you already did something. And really, it's on you to prove yourself wrong, but it's better not to even talk. Just don't even say nothing to them, man. Unless you driving, give them your license, your registration, and all that shit you supposed to give, and then shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing to them, man. Don't let your lawyer talk to them. Because all they trying to do is investigate you. If you did something wrong, shut the fuck up. If you didn't do nothing wrong, shut the fuck up. You need to be standing across the board. Let them go figure that shit out in court.
No reasonable suspicion. The court went on to say that we have explained that nearby exigent circumstances, such as a recent stabbing, or we could use a false report of a car missing from a dealership, do not justify a warrantless seizure of a person unless the seizure is narrowly targeted based on specific information of a known crime in a controlled geographic area. The court pointed out that the U.S. Supreme Court in Illinois versus Wardlow held that stating an individual's mere presence within the vicinity of criminal activity is not enough to support a reasonable, particularized suspicion that the person is committing a crime. But what about the fact that Mr. Searles refused to answer any questions? He refused to comply with the police. He initially engaged with them and then he chose to walk away. He was therefore evasive, and that was suspicious. The officers should have been able to detain him and question him further, right? Let's look at the holding from this Fourth Circuit case, which is controlling binding case law in Asheville, North Carolina. But Milla's actions were not evasive. At most, they were a decision to ignore the police and go about his business. And refusal to engage with police is not by itself a valid basis for reasonable suspicion.
Y'all hear that?
While headlong, unprovoked flight is inherently suspicious, refusal to cooperate or acknowledge the police is not. An individual has a right to ignore police and go about his business when an officer approaches without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Refusal to cooperate without more does not furnish the minimal level of objective justification needed for a detention or seizure. The fact
now hear what the court telling you. So if anybody out here talking about, just talk to them, they telling you to give up your rights. Don't talk to them if you ain't got to, and you don't have to. If they gonna put you in handcuffs, they gonna put you in handcuffs. Don't say nothing to the motherfuckers, man. Don't say nothing to them. They not here to help you, bro.
Is that Mr. Searles had every right as a free American citizen to walk away from those cops, to refuse to answer any questions that they asked. They could not force him to be a witness. They could not force him to answer their questions. They had no information indicating that Mr. Searles had committed any crime at all, period. They merely wanted him to answer their questions, which he had already done, by the way. Perhaps if they had been more respectful to him, he may have helped them. But they immediately wanted to detain him, to inconvenience him, to harass him. So while the Asheville police can claim that they had reasonable suspicion because they wanted to talk to him because he had keys in his hand and he said that he knew the woman who had the car, they had no information indicating that Mr. Searles had committed any crime. Just because he may have information that they want, that cannot be reasonable suspicion, according to the binding case law in the Fourth Circuit. So let's review. While the reasonable suspicion standard is not a difficult one for law enforcement to meet, they have to at least allege that the individual they are seizing is involved in some criminal activity. And here is their claimed basis for reasonable suspicion. Number one, familiarity with the vehicle and its owner or driver. Is that illegal? Is that a crime? No. Even if the car was stolen or being used without authorization, would it be a crime to arrest somebody who was familiar with that person? No. Secondly, the fact that he had keys in his hand also was not indicative of a crime. In fact, he told them that those were his keys, and they were in fact his keys. The officers had no indication, other than their own incorrect hunch, that those may have been related to that car whatsoever. And lastly, the fact that he walked away and refused to cooperate. According to binding federal case law.
Hold on, we're going to stop for a second because I want to pause on that. I want to pause on that for a second. I took myself off screen so we can see all of that. So y'all telling me that y'all roughed up a 60-something-year-old man. Matter of fact, let me show my face. You telling me all this shit y'all listed on here is the reason you roughed up a 60-something-year-old man? Let's look at it again. Familiarity with the vehicle and its owner / driver. Okay. Had keys in his hand. Okay. And walked away and refused to, they say cooperate, we can just say talk to him. You roughed up a 60-something-year-old man because of that? And like, for anybody that has common sense, be like, bro, that ain't right. I know you had those people in the back talking about, just talk to him, just do what they say. When you don't have no legal right to do it. And that's why so many people's rights get violated on the regular. Because you got them lay down boys out here, them lay down girls out here. They don't know what to stand on. That's why they lose the shit every day and then complain about it. Y'all hemmed up this old man and threw him on the ground, threatened to tase him because of that. Not nowhere in there did they state that he committed a crime, but you hemmed him up and threw him on the ground. Y'all know taxpayers are going to pay for that, right? The same people that sit there and claim that they don't see nothing wrong, they're going to end up paying for it. The fucked up part is the people that actually care and give a fuck about this shit got to pay for it too. I don't know how that seems right to anybody, but let's keep going.
Whatsoever. And lastly, the fact that he walked away and refused to cooperate. According to binding federal case law, he has every right to do that. That explicitly cannot form the basis for reasonable suspicion. While sometimes it's possible to take completely legal behaviors, such as having keys or being familiar with something or walking away or running away, and tie them together to form some reasonable suspicion that the individual has committed a crime, here they can't do that. In fact, the court has warned that government attempts to spin largely mundane acts into a web of deception are unconstitutional. And here they didn't even put that much effort into it. But let me know in a comment what you think.
Now let me know what y'all think right now. Because I'm not cool with that type of shit. I'm not cool with that type of shit. And you know the man gonna sue. That's why they said after he was released, they said he told them, man, y'all gonna send me to the hospital. He about to go in here and get some stuff documented. He gonna go and get a little bill from the hospital for them to pay for it. You hemmed up an old man and threw him on the ground because he supposedly knew who was driving the vehicle. Even when he offered to go get the lady for you, which is crazy, he dispelled your belief that Those were the keys of the vehicle. He never even said the vehicle was his. He just said his lady was driving the vehicle. Which I don't understand why you think magically that. I guess he got the keys and saying, well, that's your girl, so you might have the keys. It's like, okay, whatever. All that was stupid. You threw him on the ground, man. You hurt that old man. You threatened to tase the shit out of him. And think about it, y'all did it right outside his job. So let's say he didn't have, because he elaborated in here that he's well known in the area and people respect him. People around there like him. What if he had a boss that didn't like his ass and just looking for a reason to fire his black ass? And now he see you outside of the business in handcuffs with the cops. It don't matter what the situation is. You can get the hell on up out of here. I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of folks that run businesses, and it don't matter if the cops are in the wrong. They see you around some cops in handcuffs, you gone. You gone. All back. Don't even play that. And I know some of y'all probably know some of them people too. I look at them crazy. I look at them real crazy. I'm like, they need to get some pussy in their life. But outside of that, y'all did the man dirty. Once again, y'all, you do not have to speak to these motherfuckers if you don't want to. Let them take you to jail if it comes down to it. Your lawyer's there. That's what lawyers are there for. These people are making accusations and allegations against you. Matter of fact, where my Ross thing at? Because this is what they doing. They making a whole bunch of these
Accusations. These are not accusations. This is
False accusations.
And
So when they make them accusations against y'all, y'all let the lawyers deal with that. That's what they are there for. Stop talking to these motherfuckers. Now, if you want to be a good old boy, a good old two-shoe and go do that, by all means, go do it. Now, if something bad happened in your neighborhood and you know who did it, go tell on them. Don't tell that shit. So they can go get the motherfucker off the streets. But they approaching you like that on some bullshit, bro. Go on about your business, man. Ain't nothing good gonna come from it. But once again, we have another situation with that video of cops making a mistake. And also, you can add on the top, not actually knowing the law, but they're law enforcers. Not knowing the law, but you're out here enforcing the law. I know people would think that would end up becoming a problem eventually, right? And that's what happened in that situation. Don't even know the law, but you enforcing some shit. You enforcing what you think in your head. That ain't what we paying you for. But with one cop, well, we got a group of cops that got the vehicle wrong, to cops that think that they could just grab up anybody. Let's look at cops that just don't even do their job. Yeah, we got some of them out here, y'all. Look, and they'll do it with the body cam on. Won't even do their job. And this is probably some of the sickest shit I done seen in a long time. And I wonder how many times this has happened, because they did this on body cam. Just wonder what happened before body cam came around. So once again, if y'all ready, I'm ready. This is fucked up, but this one is coming from St. Louis. Hey, St. Louis, y'all made it on the board. St. Louis, y'all in here. Let's get it real quick, like.
Video obtained by First Alert 4 Investigate shows the moments two former St. Louis cops walked away from a man they'd found in Forest Park. He was shot in the head, but still alive. The officers never tried to help, call for backup, or make sure that other people were safe. Complaints filed against them by the Attorney General's office, calling what they did an act of vileness and depravity. It's a case that we first told you back in November. Now, our chief investigative reporter, Lauren Traeger, is showing us the video tonight that's never been seen publicly. And we do want to warn you, some of what you may see and hear may be disturbing.
5 seconds is the time it takes for two officers to find what they've been called to look for.
Damn, who right there? Somebody right there. Swear to God. No, he ain't dead. You lie.
September 10th, 2023, still sunny in Forest Park at 6:20 p.m. A man lying on the ground, shot, but still breathing.
You shoot himself in the head? I don't know.
That's now former SLMPD officer Austin Frazier. He is not wearing a camera. It's his partner, Ty Warrens, that is rolling. Together, they make a decision.
We better take this motherfucker down. We ain't taking this shit. I ain't taking 30 minutes. Let's cruise around.
I just wanted to make sure I kept that on screen real quick. Like, if they don't finish this, if they take this away real fast, we come back, we're going to talk about that right there.
Come back.
A minute and 10 seconds.
Okay. So, two officers. We got a black guy, got a white guy. Warren, we better take this MFer then. We better take this MFer then. Question mark? Frazier responds, we ain't taking ish. I get off in 30 minutes. Frazier again, let's cruise around and come back. Protect and serve, they say. It's a man shot in the head, laying in the park. And you talking about let's go cruise around.
Seconds on scene, changing lives forever. Laughing as they walk away from a person and the public who needed them to protect and serve.
It's disgusting, really disgusting.
Former St. Louis County Chief Tim Fitch, now a police consultant, had been appalled when we'd first shown him disciplinary complaint documents filed by Missouri's Attorney General, which accuse Warren and Frazier of what the state calls a, quote, reckless disregard for the safety of the public and another person. And now we've shown Fitch the officer's body camera videos obtained through a public records request.
Certainly, it's even more disturbing just watching the video.
St. Louis police had been called to Forest Park after a call from a person who said they were going to take their own life. Later learning it was 29-year-old Urayuan Rodriguez Rivera. Disciplinary complaint documents say Frazier and Warren arrived on scene and located the man lying under a tree, shot in the head. Neither attempted to render any assistance, neither requested medical assistance, and neither, complaint documents say, attempted to locate a firearm.
Let's cruise around and come back.
Instead, they simply leave, and Warren turns off his camera.
That ain't right. That ain't right. It ain't right.
Ready to see the people in the back come and justify this one for the cops. You know there's always going to be somebody. Man, call the cops and told him he's going to shoot himself in the head. Obviously, y'all got there a little too late. He hadn't shot himself in the head. Or at least he's there with a bullet in his head. And y'all just walked the fuck off. Walked the fuck off. Didn't even look for a gun, didn't do none of that. Just walked off. This man's still alive. He was still breathing, y'all. He was still breathing. Just walked off. But wear that badge. I swear, every time any little small thing happens and the cops involved in it, they want to say, oh, they're a hero. Just walked off on a man dying. Walked off on a man dying. After getting a call for the guy. Yeah.
But about 10 minutes later, they come back to Forest Park and pretend they hadn't already been there.
522 priority.
They come back. But about 10 minutes later, they come back to Forest Park and pretend they hadn't already been there.
522 priority.
Go ahead.
Have EMS respond for one subject, not conscious but breathing, barely.
A third responding on.
So what was the point of going off and driving away? Did y'all have a conversation in the car like, hey man, we can't leave that motherfucker right there, bro. Let's go back and just call it in, man. When they show up, we'll get up out of here, some shit like that. Like that's what's going on. 10 minutes. You drove around for 10 minutes while that man was dying on the ground out there. Then called it in. Came back and called it. Bruh, what? Oh, Lord, this is some silly shit right here.
Officer immediately calls in the scene.
Yeah, he's snoring.
Assessing the wounds. The man's breathing, so agonizing, it's like a gasping for air.
Where's the gun at?
That third officer immediately notices something isn't right.
You got a gun? They can't see one.
As others arrive, they know to secure the perimeter.
Hey, start it way up there and do the whole thing.
Throughout several officers' body camera videos, you see them putting up yellow crime scene tape.
Priority with privacy curtains. We're in a very exposed area of Forest Park.
Calling to block the victim from view in the busy park and keep others away.
You got a pulse still?
They follow protocol and attempt to help.
Super weak, but I feel it.
Even when they know it's bad.
There's not much we can do. Yeah, we're going. They still got a pulse.
So those officers did their jobs, and they do their jobs well.
Guy down there by the tree, got gunshot wound through and through. Labored breathing.
EMS officials take Urayuan to the hospital, but he does not survive.
You've got to wonder if they would have done something right then and there, could he have survived? Certainly.
That part right there. Say it one more time for the people in the back. Say it one more time for the people in the back, buddy.
Something right then.
But he does not survive.
You've got to wonder if they would have done something right then and there, could he have survived? Certainly.
What? I have to ask this question, y'all. I pose it every time I do a cop video. If their job is not to save your life, what is their job? And the main reason I say that because the Supreme Court ruled they don't have a legal obligation to save your life. So what is their job? For the people that love them so much and believe that, it's one of the greatest professions, you can't say anything bad about them. They're always in the right. What is their job then if it's not to save your life? That's just crazy to me. What are you paying for? You paying for somebody to pick and choose whether they want to do their job when they want to do their job? It's actually written in the law form because officers have discretion. They don't have to act on certain things if they choose not to. They don't have to write you a ticket in certain situations. They don't have to take you to jail in certain situations. But saving somebody's life? Ooh. Just ponder on that for a little bit.
When you turn your back and walk away, the chances of that person surviving is going down dramatically by the second.
To you, is it just so wrong on its face?
Yes, absolutely. That's not how most officers would respond to a call like that.
In fact, Fitch says he can think of only one thing.
I think it's just pure laziness is what it was.
On video this time, Warren and Frazier walk away again, leaving their fellow officers to handle it now.
It's up. Warren and Frazier just left. Why? I don't know.
Nearly every...
Damn, they done dipped out. Hey, look, the two that didn't want to do nothing about it in the beginning, but ended up calling in, they gone, bro. They gone. They gone.
Oh, it's up. Warren and Frazier just left.
Why?
I don't know.
Bro.
Nearly every officer acknowledges the obvious. How is it a suicide with no gun?
ECU is here, so he probably already has the gun.
Nope, no gun. The gun's gone.
What gun's gone?
The gun is gone. So he could have shot himself, so they came over and took his shit.
I mean...
It wouldn't shock me. Maybe somebody dumped him. You never know.
You heard what that officer said about the other officers? Listen to it. Listen very carefully to what he just said to the other officer about the two officers that left. Listen very carefully.
Nope, no gun. The gun's gone.
What gun's gone?
The gun is gone. So he could have shot himself, so they came over and took his shit.
I mean...
It wouldn't shock me. Maybe somebody dumped him. You never know.
So he thinks that them motherfuckers came over there, took the guy's stuff, and was probably thinking about just dumping his body somewhere. That's what he thinks about his fellow officer. How long you been feeling like that, buddy? Is that a rumor going around the shop and ain't nobody saying nothing about it? Because y'all remember now, this guy got a bullet hole in his head. He had to do it with a gun. Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Now, I don't know if y'all know St. Louis get down dirt, man. They go down to St. Louis, y'all. So now you telling me there's a random gun just on the street in somebody's hand? We don't know if that person's a criminal. We don't know if that person's... we don't know. We don't know. A lot of things can come from that. And it's just great police work, man. It's just, they doing their job, y'all. They doing it.
St. Louis.
Unless somebody picked it up and chucked it somewhere.
Ultimately, the case was ruled a suicide. Urayuan had a history of suicidal ideations and had left notes of intent. Still, Fitch says it's very concerning that to this day, no one knows where that gun is, possibly left unsecured by Frazier and Warren.
That's something that they should have done and they didn't do.
Did they endanger the safety of other people?
Quite possibly, by not securing that firearm. And they certainly could have endangered the life of the individual.
St. Louis police declined to provide an interview for this story, saying they cannot comment on specific personnel matters, but writing that, quote, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken if an officer is found to have violated policies. Urayuan's mother...
Hey, why would you have to say that when you have the body cam? Why would that be your statement? It's like, are you still trying to provide cover when you know what the fuck happened? Like, I'm gonna let him say it again, y'all. How are you gonna provide cover when you... That's the shit that gets me. And I understand when you're at a certain job, working for the government and shit like that, you're afforded a few more rights, and to get you up out of there is a little different. But that's just to get you up out of there. You telling me there's nothing that happened in this shit that you couldn't arrest them for? I'm gonna let him say it again.
Vigil.
St. Louis police declined to provide an interview for this story, saying they cannot comment on specific personnel matters, but writing that, quote, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken if an officer is found to have violated policies. Urayuan...
I don't know what policy that is. Well, I don't know how. I just don't understand how you can see the video and not come up with know what the fuck you can do right now. You just, we're still investigating. How long does it take to investigate seeing some shit? I understand, yeah, I get you want to get off of just more than just the video, just the body cam. You probably want to talk to both officers, maybe talk to the officers that showed up on scene afterwards. But you still have the video, right? You still have the video and you saw what happened in the video. No matter what any of them say, that video don't fucking lie. And you can hear them talking in the video. So what the fuck are you waiting? What are you wasting time for? You telling me there's nothing you can do? Or we'll if something violated our policy, we'll do something about it. Okay.
One's mother lives in Puerto Rico. She cannot believe what our reports have been revealing, telling us in a text message it was a, quote, lack of humanity, saying more, quote, I hope the full weight of the law falls on these so-called police officers. The state has sought to discipline their peace officer licenses, and Fitch says a lawsuit is possible, but criminal charges, he says, are very unlikely.
They just...
Hold on, y'all. I saw that last part. Criminal charges are very unlikely. So look. Once again, when I tell y'all they do not have an obligation to save your life, they do not. And that's the number one thing that most people wrap in their heads. We were indoctrinated as kids growing up with cops and Live PD, MASH, and all this other shit. We're indoctrinated where people have this fond view of cops. They don't have to save your motherfucking life, nigga. No criminal charges are likely, very unlikely, y'all, for them walking away from a call that they got called on where a man shot in the head. Left them there to die. No charges. Even though they're operating underneath the guise of being law enforcement, and most people had the sentiment and thinking, the thought process, yeah, they got to save this man's life. We're going to try to get their peace officer license taken from them. That's what we're going to try to do. And maybe they might get sued, but we're not gonna charge with anything. And I just don't get how people are okay with that type of shit, man. You know how much money they take every year from y'all? It's from all of us. To fund this shit, and you telling me, okay.
Are very unlikely.
They just didn't act at all, which is certainly shameful, but criminal, probably not.
No, he ain't dead. He alive.
It is the body camera video, which we should appreciate, Fitch says. The video that told the whole story. Video that's there to protect the officers and also the public.
A supervisor reviewing the body camera video was the one that discovered that it wasn't handled properly and did initiate an investigation. And that's the way it's supposed to work.
That video telling us what truly happened.
Let's cruise around and come back.
Capturing what otherwise was concealed, the inactions of two officers.
Now, regarding that missing gun, police tell us their investigation into the stolen firearm remains ongoing, and they are actively monitoring their database to see if it is being used in any crimes. To date, there have been no hits to that database. The police officers, we're told, have left the department not long after this incident last year. They have not responded to our inquiries to talk to them. Warren has already lost his Missouri peace officer's license. Frazier has a hearing regarding his license tomorrow morning. We will certainly keep tracking that. I'm Lauren.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, man. Look, man, one of them lost his license. Man, that's so terrible. And another one, he's in hearings to lose his license. But, ain't nobody being charged with nothing. We ain't hear about no lawsuit and shit. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. Jack said, join the panel. Yeah, you can actually hop up. I got one more for y'all, man. One more that's gonna piss you off a little bit. But actually, it might not piss you off, but it'll show you the process of this thing called qualified immunity for these cops, because we definitely got to talk about that. But it's crazy, man. They one lost their license, and the other one is in the process of losing his, but no charges. It makes you wonder when the officer said, at least the police department said, we're going to review this and see if there are any policy violations. Well, clearly not rendering aid to a civilian in public while you're on the job and on a call for that civilian is not against company policy as a police officer. Get that through your head. They didn't violate company policy by not rendering aid. But morally, they'll try to go after their badge. They'll try to go after their license so they can't be a cop, but you didn't fire them. Or did you fire them? Matter of fact, let me see. Did they fire him? Let me see if they fired
other
him.
people were safe. Video obtained by First Alert 4 Investigate shows the moments two former St. Louis cops walked away from a man they'd found in Forest Park. He was shot in the head, but still alive. The officers never tried to help, call for backup, or make sure that other people were safe. Complaint.
Wait, hold up, man. See, they didn't say shit about being fired or not. And then on top of that, they damn sure don't know what a gun is.
To date, there have been no hits to that database. The police officers, we're told, have left the department not long after.
Didn't even get fired. Didn't even get fired. Didn't even get fired, y'all. Didn't even get fired. Didn't violate one policy. That should make you wonder if you in that St. Louis area about your police officers. That should make you wonder in that area. Didn't even get fired. Had the ability to leave the office after leaving a citizen for dead. It ain't coming back 10 minutes later. You know, come back 10 minutes later and then, you know, trying to act like it was your first time showing up on the job or some shit. Yeah, we just got here, man. Dipped out. We don't know what a gun is. We don't know when y'all got the gun. One of your fellow officers think y'all done took the gun and threw that shit in the woods somewhere. Y'all kept it for yourself. You was about to throw his body in the woods. And look, it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy how this shit goes down. But the next one we got, y'all, is for the Lackluster channel. And I'm going to drop the link real quick. So I know Ms. Jackson says she want to get in on this one. The next one is coming from Lackluster. Now, when a lot of these situations happen where officers put hands on, like the second video that we covered, there's a thing that pops up, especially if somebody wants to sue the officers. Qualified immunity pops up all the time. And that's a legal term that gives cops a level of protection from civil liability. Like, you fuck them up, like they fuck you up, punch you in your face, and, you know, beat you up real bad. You got medical bills and stuff. You can't personally go and sue them if they are deemed to have qualified immunity. So this protects a lot of cops, where it ends up being that the city just gets sued, not the officers. Because I believe, personally, if you do something wrong to me, you should be the one to pay for it. I don't think everybody else in this neighborhood should have to pay for what the fuck you did. I think you should have to pay for it. But they're not, we're going to put it on everybody else. And it's not coming from the cops because it's coming from the taxpayers. Even though some of them pay taxes, it's coming from the wide majority of people that are not police officers. Well, they have proceedings for this, y'all, and they have to try to prove qualified immunity. And we're going to see how this goes. And normally, most of the time, cops get qualified immunity. It's that thing that Trump said he wanted to get rid of. He said, we don't need cops to have qualified immunity. They automatically got ultimate immunity. Yeah, that dumb shit. This is how the proceedings go. And we're going to go through them. I sped it up a little bit because this one does drag a second, but we need to hear it, and it's important because a lot of people don't know what the hell's going on inside these courtrooms.
This case represents a prime example of why police officers should be provided qualified immunity.
So it's reasonable to lift him up and tackle him and then start punching him and all that, even if he was prone on the ground and you could have just handcuffed him.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel.
Tell them what we're talking about.
In May of 2009, during a police chase, Jordan Branscombe wrecked and surrendered, but would later sue the involved officers for excessive force. The officers motioned for summary judgment, but the district court denied qualified immunity, and the officer's appeal was heard by the Ninth Circuit.
My name is Noah Blackman. I represent.
All right, so now he sued him. Obviously, the dude did something wrong. He committed a crime, y'all. But the way that they took him in, and we're going to see how they took him in, he decided to sue him for excessive force, all right? Now, one judge said, yep, we can go ahead with that, no qualified immunity. The state, the city, the police officers, that department are trying to appeal that decision. So this is the hearing. Now, if it gets denied right here, they have no qualified immunity. Now, the first judge could have been like, yep, qualified immunity, and that would have been it. Well, the guy could have tried to appeal it again to another court. You can always appeal one time. And pretty much they're here for their appeal. They want this qualified immunity. It's already been denied one time. Let's see why it was denied. Let's hear the arguments. Let's see what the judges have to say. And also the attorney for the person that was wrong, that was violated, or the one that's filing the lawsuit will also speak to.
Present the appellants, in this case, the San Ramon related police officers and department. I would like to reserve 3 minutes of rebuttal.
That boy look like a
very well. We're going to begin.
That boy look like a discount Tim Hasselbeck. Discount Tim Hasselbeck.
And for the record, we notified counsel we will be playing some video exhibits today. Both of these are from the dash cam of the car. So we'll begin with the real-time exhibit G.
Yeah, let's see what happened. Let's see what happened. All right. That boy out here driving crazy. He might swerve and be in that corner. Whoa, whoa. There's a lot of smoke, a lot of smoke. The vehicle didn't stop though. All right. It look like we got somebody on the ground. Okay, we got a person on the ground. Y'all, hold up. Y'all see it, right? It was a person on the ground. So I'm guessing they were yelling commands for him to get on the ground. All right, y'all can see right here. You got somebody on the ground, all right? So they told him to get on the ground, person's on the ground. What happens next? Oh, Lord, I saw that.
And then, counsel, I'll now play it as the slow motion, and I'd like both of you to be.
If y'all were paying attention, right? You had a guy on the ground. Remember, this is a lawsuit for excessive force. He's on the ground, face down, chest down, and a cop comes out of nowhere from the back, and it looks like he's mushing his face into the goddamn concrete. That's what it looked like. And then he ends up getting flipped, it seems. And remember, this guy supposedly he suffered a lot of injuries. I think he even had a punctured lung from this situation. He's the one suing. So it's starting to look like he might have a case, but I'm quick to the gun because when I see bullshit, I just call it right then. But let's watch a little bit more.
Prepared to focus on when the officers are pulling, either he's getting up off the ground or the officers are pulling him up off the ground.
The driver obeyed orders at gunpoint to get out of the van and drop to the ground, face down. After surrendering, an officer pushed Jordan's face into the ground. Immediately after, he pulled Jordan up and pushed him down again, jumping on him. The other officers then punched and tased Jordan for several minutes before being handcuffed. Jordan suffered multiple cuts and bruises, a punctured lung, and spent 3 days in the hospital.
Your Honors, this is not a typical use of force case, especially on this particular record. This case represents a prime example of why police officers should be provided qualified immunity from suit. In essence, they should be provided breathing room when they're dealing with a very high risk, high danger, rapidly evolving situation.
But let me start here. The district court essentially said that looking at this tape and taking all the evidence into account, she couldn't tell whether Mr. Branscombe resisted in general, as I understand it, or either at that point or at later points. And therefore, it was a jury question. Now, can we question that determination?
Yes, Your Honor. There's no evidence in this record set forth by Mr. Lagos or his client that he did not resist at the critical moment that was played by
there's the tape.
the court.
What do you think about the tape?
Right. Well, we have Mr. Branscome's testimony.
But I'm asking a legal question. My understanding of the legal background is that you can't appeal a summary judgment denial. You can only appeal the denial of qualified immunity. So are we not bound by the judge's determination as to there being conflicting facts?
Well, I believe that the court did not do the full Graham analysis. We are bound by what the court said was this supposed factual issue, which was whether or not Officer Stevens pulled up Mr. Branscombe, which started the struggle, or Mr.
So you
Branscombe.
agree that we're bound by that. So your argument departs from that.
Correct.
From the assumption that he didn't. He did do that. He did pull him up. Because you have to take the facts most favorable.
Okay, so let's assume that. I mean, this is de novo, but let's assume that. So one of our arguments is that in and of itself, that action by Officer Stevens in this heated, dangerous situation is not evidence of any excessive force. So even if that occurred, there's no case law that says the officer could not do that at that point in time. In fact, the cases say.
But why would they do that at that point in time if they were trying to, if all they were trying to do was to handcuff the guy and get him into control?
Well, the reason, and it's in the record, is,
they said they didn't do it. But if they did do it, what would be the justification for doing it?
Officer Stevens is reacting to Mr. Branscombe pulling his hand away during the time when Officer Stevens is trying to control his hands. Then something happens that Mr. Branscombe gets off the ground and moves over to the side. Mr. Branscombe doesn't remember the point in time.
I think you've missed the point of Judge Berzon's question. Because the district court has found that there is conflicting evidence here, you're going to have to assume the defendant's version of the facts, or at least whatever facts the defendants think that they can prove. Whether they can or not, whether there's just tons of witnesses against it, at this stage, in order to prevail, you've got to assume that we think that there's a Fourth Amendment violation and then tell us that your officers have qualified immunity. But you're going to have to assume that Officer Stevens had him secure on the ground and they decided to pull him up, and that action was not necessary in order to subdue him.
Well, let's assume
counterproductive to subduing him, actually.
Okay, so let's assume that's exactly why we have qualified immunity. I mean, here we are breaking down in milliseconds these brief actions by these officers in what even the district court admitted was the highest threat profile situation. So Officer Stevens is entitled to some breathing room for whatever tactic he believes at that point in time is necessary to control this gentleman.
But not if he could look at this thing and say he was pulling him up. The guy never resisted. Not only didn't resist then, because I think that's the way you read the district courts. And they punched him and they tased him.
Well, if your honors look at that video, what we do see right after that point in time is we see Mr. Branscombe move over towards the van, presumably at that point not in contact with an officer. Then we see Officer Stevens tackle him. So there's clear evidence that he lost control.
But the defense's argument here, I don't know whether it's a winning argument, okay? And I have my own views, but they're irrelevant here, is that if the officer has pulled him up, he's pulled him up at a time when that is exactly the wrong thing to do. He's got him on the ground. And if he's pulled him up, then Mr. Branscombe may simply be reacting to that. In other words, the officer may have pulled him up for the precise reason that it will free him to punch him, to get that attention grabber. And the other officers can tase him in order to punish him for what he's just done. So that's a theory of the case. I'm not sure you get qualified immunity for that.
Well, I'm gonna stop right there. I got Miss Jackson up in the building. What's going on, girl?
What's good, man? How's it going?
Man, living a dream, covering these motherfucking people. I would just go with people right now. What's your thoughts so far? Because like right now, pretty much they're doing it here, and we saw the video a couple times. They're going to consistently show it throughout this video. But what's your thoughts so far?
Well, I've been kind of had a lot going on and been running around kind of active, so I've been glimpsing in and out, jumping in and out. I just heard a little bit of the narrative storyline about the guy Jordan, and they arrested him. And it was accessible force use, right?
Yeah, check this. Before you answer then, I'm going to play a little bit more because they going through the proceedings pretty much right now. The judges are talking to the lawyer for the police department, police union lawyer, pretty much. And he's arguing on the side that they should get this qualified immunity, even in spite of what's going on. You're just going to see the banter back and forth a little bit between the judges. And eventually you'll get to hear from the lawyer of the actual guy that's filing this lawsuit. Because it's kind of funny. I'm gonna let you listen to it again, and you'll see the video on the side because they're gonna show it again.
I don't think that action by Officer Stevens, let's assume that occurred, is excessive force in and of itself. Okay,
but that's the way you briefed it, and the point that I think Judge Bybee is making, or in any event I'm making, is that's not the whole story. The question is that it was part of a larger that the judge. And not just whether he pulled him up or not, but pulling him up was the first provocation. And there's certainly case law saying that when there's provocation, i.e. When the police do something that they don't need to do and that has even some force, even if not a lot of force, then what happens afterwards has to be looked at in light of that provocation and not in isolation. I mean, your whole briefing was in isolation. And the question is, if we don't look at it in isolation, but look at what happened afterwards as part of the larger reaction, then what?
Well, that's what I think the district court failed to do here. I think the district court failed to look at the totality of the circumstances facing these officers.
I mean, on one level, they did a good job. I mean, on one level, they did because they didn't shoot the guy as he was doing all these, terrible, dangerous things, and they.
No other civilians were injured, as far as I understand.
That's correct. I mean, under the Plumhoff case, Supreme Court case.
Look how still even the judge is trying to give him a good job. Look. They didn't kill the guy and nobody else got hurt outside of him. So, they did a good job.
Yeah, I caught that. She was like, they didn't shoot him. They didn't kill him. So they did a pretty good job. It wasn't too forceful from what I'm perceiving.
I just don't understand that. That's very interesting coming from a judge, and then you hear the other judge, nobody was hurt. Nobody else got hurt. I'm like, what? Okay, but let's see how it play out. This crazy. This crazy to me, but this is how this shit goes down in courts. This is a lot of shit, man. Look, if we got cops wearing body cams, we need to put cameras in every fucking courtroom. I don't care what the level of the trial is. Just don't show the jury. You can show the judge, show the lawyers, show the defendants, all that shit. We need cameras in all these courtrooms because a lot of people don't even understand how court even goes down. They just see that shit on Law and Order and think that's how it's done. That ain't how that shit done, nigga. That's for TV. It's
and then how about right? And then how about his rights was not exercised? They were violated.
Mm-hmm. Like, keep talking for a second. I gotta turn something off. My internet about to start doing some funny shit. 1 second.
Okay. Well, I'm not quite sure of the narrative of this story. I'm really just jumping on for a minute. But we have a young man here whose rights were violated and he was improperly arrested. As we know, our protocol and procedures, they have the rights to read you your legal rights once you're being arrested, what your charge is, and why you are being arrested. The only time that excessive force is necessary to be used is if the arrestee or the suspect is being violent towards the officer, and they have to physically defend themselves by, using excessive force to capture that person and take control of the narrative of the situation. So that's pretty much what
don't say that, Jackson. Don't say that. Remember, the reason I say don't say that.
Well, no, you got to listen to the full cover line of. I was talking while you stepped out.
I'm just talking about on the back end of the excessive force part. On the back end, everything else I'm agreeing with. I wouldn't call it excessive force. Like, if they have to knock somebody out because they fighting them back, they wouldn't consider that excessive force. Excessive force only come in when it's wrong. Like, you exceeded the force you needed to get this done. That's why they call it excessive force. It would never be a good term for excessive force for them. It's always going to be negative.
Well, the correct definition of excessive force is, again, when someone is being violent or attacking the officer during an arrest, they call for backup, of course. And, they may have to physically restrain that person, meaning hold them down until they can get them handcuffed. Depending on the situation, possibly mace them. It just depends on the scenario. So that's just force. The overall picture I was painting.
I got you. Well, here, check it. Let's keep going. Fucking this gonna get funny. And yell at me if you need me to stop at a point if you want to hit something on one of these, because it's gonna be a lot of shit said in this shit. Let's see how fast did I put this bitch on, because this thing like they talking slow. Here you go. We gonna do, matter of fact, at 125. I'm gonna put that bitch at 130. Yeah, 130. Let's see what we got.
Case, if this had continued, if he had been able to get his vehicle off of that area, officers would have been likely entitled under the Fourth Amendment and qualified immunity to shoot Mr. Branscombe. Right, okay. So now he gets out of the van.
But still, we have the situation that we have, which is the guy's on the ground, hands out, prone. And if you think that, and if you can look at that and it looks like somebody is pulling him up, or at least somebody could think that, then what? Not just the pulling up, is whether the pulling up is excessive force, but how does that feed into the rest of what happened?
Well, the rest of what happened, if indeed he had surrendered and submitted a total take me to jail position, why is there this 81-second struggle after that, where we've seen on the taser cameras, his arms are underneath his body?
That's not an argument for qualified immunity. That's an argument as to why you're going to win in front of a jury.
Well, I think it relates to the district court did not analyze the qualified immunity issues with, for example, the other four officers who the state of the record is they see.
Counsel is there's no Fourth Amendment violation. That's not qualified immunity. That's you're going to win that on the merits. Qualified immunity only comes in if we think there's a constitutional violation. So we have to assume that there's a constitutional violation for you even to make your qualified immunity argument, which is what gets you here today. Otherwise, you have to go before the jury and just say all of the officers testified that this is what happened. Mr. Branscombe doesn't remember. Here's the tape. Judge for yourselves. Vote for the officers.
The only reason that I guess
think about that shit. They beat that man so bad in the head that he can't even remember what happened to him. The only way he'll be able to remember if he watched that video.
It sounds like another Rodney King situation.
He beat the shit out of him so bad. The officers remember everything, and they're saying one story, but their story is getting contradicted by the video, and the person that got victimized can't remember because y'all beat the shit out of him. Like, that's crazy. And we in court. This guy, I swear, some people that do certain jobs, I just don't understand how you do it. I don't know how you sleep at night doing that shit. Because you're sitting here arguing for these cops. This lawyer has seen it. This is the DA. I mean, not the DA, but the fucking police union's lawyer. You watch the video. You have freedom of information. You get discovery. You got to see the video. You probably saw the video before the goddamn people suing saw it. And you still in here arguing for this. I understand everybody got to get paid, but damn, we gonna have some morals, man. Like, they beat that dude up, bro. They beat the shit out of him. You just, well, I'm gonna tell you why they don't need to get qualified immunity taken away from them. Like, what?
Just committed a whole nother crime. You know, you're arresting a man for committing a crime, and you commit a crime. So is that not double standards?
Man, this shit don't even make no goddamn sense. It don't make no sense. You made me chase you, so now I gotta whoop your ass. That's what it seemed like. But either way.
Yes, we're here, I think, is because I think we have a creative attorney, Mr. Lagos. He's based his whole case on what's seen in the video because his client basically doesn't remember how he got from the ground over towards the van. There's an 11-second gap here. So there's no evidence in the record.
I'm sorry. I gotta say it. He's basing it off of the video because his client doesn't know what happened. But in the video, he has an argument. What the fuck are you talking about? It wouldn't matter what his client had to say. We got the video.
Right.
You know how you like people will lie all the time, but if we got a video that shows what happened, that's the end all be all. It don't matter what either motherfucker say. So it doesn't matter if his client can't remember. We have the video, dummy. And he said that like it's just gonna get dismissed because his client can't testify.
The receipts speak for itself.
Yeah, like what the fuck? I'm gonna let him say it one more time. That made no fucking sense, dude. That made no damn sense.
This is what happened. Mr. Branscombe doesn't remember. Here's the tape. Judge for yourselves. Vote for the officers.
The only reason that I guess we're here, I think, is because I think we have a creative attorney, Mr. Lagos. He's based his whole case on what's seen in the video because his client basically doesn't remember how he got from the ground over towards the van. There's an 11-second gap here. So there's no evidence in the record other than potentially Mr. Lagos's arguments about what he sees on the video because his client can't even bolster the fact that he was indeed picked up. The officer denies it. So I think the court did not.
But we saw it, buddy.
And the officer denies it. Like, what?
So now you're making your officer look like this is crazy to sit in here and argue this case in front of a judge. Like, they saw the video. They played it for you in the courtroom. The officer said he didn't pick him up. We clearly saw. Y'all had a conversation about the officer picking him up earlier, right when we started our whole conversation. This whole court proceeding.
It's a reverse psychology strategy, you know, that he's trying to use on them.
Like, don't believe your lying eyes, y'all. Don't believe your lying eyes. Believe what I'm telling you. I'm telling you the truth. Look at me. I'm the captain now. That video bullshit. Believe what I tell you. Like, that's crazy, bro. What are you doing? This shit crazy.
Look at the totality of the circumstances that these officers faced in determining that one issue was that there was a factual issue as to whether the officer picked him up.
Do you think you could look at that tape and say, definitely they didn't pick him up? They didn't do that?
I believe so because all the evidence we submitted is that's not what happened. Basically, that's not what Officer Stevens happened. That's not what I see in the video.
I understand, but I'm asking you about if you were looking at the video. Suppose Officer Stevens and everybody had said what they said, but you looked at the video and clearly they lifted him up after he was supine and after they were very close to putting the handcuffs up, and for no reason that you can perceive. Suppose that's what it showed. That would overcome whatever they were saying, right? I mean, that's essentially what the Supreme Court said in Scott versus Howard. I mean, you just look at the tape. All right. So if it were clear, it wouldn't matter what they said, right?
Well, I think the tape needs to be bolstered by admissible evidence other than just.
So you're saying even
tape.
if it were clear, that wouldn't matter?
Well, I don't think it's clear.
I know, but
right.
So therefore, if it's not clear, you just said it's not clear. So if it's not clear, then do we decide who decides what it shows?
Well, it would go to the evidence in the case. Mr. Branscombe never testified that he was pulled up off the ground. So there's no evidence of that. So what we have undisputed on this record is our position. We have Officer Stevens saying that he's attempting to.
So you're saying we don't worry
gentleman.
about the ambiguous tape?
No, I'm saying that the tape should not be given undue weight here based upon the state of this record.
Counsel, let me ask you, I mean,
the video shouldn't carry more weight than your client's testimony. And because the other guy can't remember, we have to ignore that video. We have to lean on what my client said to police officers, even though the video shows that what they said was a bold-faced fucking lie. That's what he's in here arguing.
Right.
You got to be on some other type of time to be on some shit like, how much money they paying you, buddy? How much money are they paying you for this? It's just like when I see black folks out there cooning like a motherfucker. I'm like, man, what they giving you, buddy? What they giving you to come out here and say this crazy shit? How much money are they paying this lawyer? Like, ignore the video, listen to my client's testimony, and his client can't testify, so automatically, we should get qualified immunity. That's his argument. That's pretty much his whole fucking argument.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Just to be clear, as I read the Ninth Circuit case law and the Supreme Court case law, we can't reweigh the facts to say whether summary judgment should have been granted at this point. As I understand the case, we have to assume the following. One, that Mr. Branscombe led the police on a very dangerous chase. And, behavior that is terrible, what he did, and could have hurt a lot of different people. When the officers came upon the scene, they were in a very tough situation. You don't know if more guys are in the van. The wheels are still spinning. He could have accomplices jump out. Very high tension situation. Granted, both of those. We have to assume, I think, based on what the district court did here, that at the time the officers came upon Mr. Branscombe, he was not resisting. Now, I understand your arguments to why the officers say he wasn't. I see the video, and we can all have our own opinions on that. But we have to assume for now that he wasn't resisting, and that despite him not resisting, force was applied to him. Am I wrong in my legal analysis that that's what we're stuck with at this stage?
Well, I think because of the backdrop of this, Your Honor, I think you're correct up to a point, which is these officers have a lawful right to use force. That's undisputed. And because of the severity of the crimes and the danger of the situation, they have the right to not just walk up to him and use kid gloves on Mr. Branscombe, not knowing if he's armed, not knowing his intents and motivations. So we cited the case law from the 11th Circuit and the 7th Circuit, the Johnson case and the other case, the Crenshaw case. Officers do not need to assume this gentleman is surrendering based upon all of his prior behavior. In fact, the reason this pursuit ended was he crashed his van. He did not pull over and suddenly lay on the ground and say, okay. That may be a different factual scenario. In this scenario, the situation that these officers faced, from their perspective, they're entitled to some breathing room on the decisions they're making, including whether or not Officer Stevens is pulling up Mr. Branscombe briefly, as the district court seemed to think occurred. So this is exactly why qualified immunity is provided to officers.
If he had his arms, what they claim was the resisting was that he moved his arms.
That's right. That's undisputed. Officer Stevens says that when he tried to get his arms from his head, start to pull back behind his back where you handcuff a suspect.
He smushed this man's face into the ground. What would be your first reaction if somebody smushed your face in the ground?
And then I'm looking at the point the judge, the guy said, the judge said about they had a right to use forceful act. How do you figure? You charge him with eluding the police. He crashed his van, okay, and then when you all approached him, then you go ahead and arrest him. I still don't see how they're justified, or he's stating they had a right to use forceful act. That's just I'm a little lost there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm gonna play this shit. I'm gonna play this part again, because the lawyer just tried to say, well, it was justified when he moved his hands. They were trying to get his hands and he moved his hands. Well, that's why I asked the question. If somebody smushes your face in the concrete, what would be your first reaction? What would be your first reaction, Ms. Jackson? If somebody was smushing your face in the ground, you on your stomach, face down, they smushing your face in the ground, what would be your first reaction?
Right, because naturally he was prepared. He knew he had it coming. He running from the police. Once he wrecked his...
I'm asking, what would you do? What would be your first response?
Well, I'm just saying, everybody will have a natural instinct. You know what I'm saying? To defend yourself. But I'm saying mentally...
What would you do?
Right.
I'm saying, what would you do? Like, what would be your reaction? You already got to think about it. You got somebody on your back, obviously. You're probably not going to be able to get them motherfuckers to fuck off. But they smushing your face in the ground. What would you do? Because my first
you're going to have a natural instinct to defend yourself. That's just anybody. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about, okay, from the start, from the basics of the scenario. Once he crashed his vehicle, he knew he had it coming. There's somebody been in and out of, the judicial system and law enforcement. It sound like he got a history, all his life. So he know what time it is. So once he crashed that vehicle and he knew he couldn't get nowhere, then he already prepared to lay it down. I'm quite sure. So once they approached him, either he resisted or surrendered. I did miss the video. You know, I hadn't really looked at it to see the exact.
I'm about to show
You
it
see what I'm saying? But it sounds like once they approached him, they just naturally used physical force. They just went and beat the man down. They didn't even take the initiative to arrest him. That's what I'm gathering, you know, from the testimonies.
Yeah. Well, here you go. From what the point I was trying to get at, and the reason I was asking you what would be your natural reaction if you were getting your face smushed in the ground. The reason I was asking that because we're going to see what he did in the video, and I think most people would. I wasn't going for the term of defend yourself. He went to cover his face, to get his face off the concrete. That was probably the most natural reaction anybody would have. If you got weight on your back and somebody's pushing your face in the ground and they're about to scrub your shit in the ground, you're going to try to cover your fucking head from getting scraped the fuck up on the concrete. And the lawyer right now is trying to argue that he moved his hands. But what is the reason for him moving his hands? And they about to play it again. Here we go. Check it. Watch it real quick.
That he moved his arms?
What I meant.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was saying that's what I meant by you would naturally defend yourself. You would protect your head, put your hands over your body, cover your face or whatever the case may be, or even try to, move away or separate space. So that's what I meant by right. So that's what I meant by a physical reaction or natural reaction to defend yourself. That's what I was meaning by that. But what I'm trying to get to the key point is, you're saying they were smushing his face in. Is this after they arrested him? After they placed handcuffs on him? Or did they just initially approach him and attack full force? And basically, he was assaulted. There was no arrest. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, I'm about to show it again so you'll see it. That's why I wanted to pause it, because when I heard the lawyer say that about he moved his hands, I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason why he moved his hands, and it wasn't to resist. Watch it. Watch the video.
Right, it's undisputed. Officer Stevens says that when he tried to get his arms from his head, start to pull it back.
Man jumped on his back and got his hands around his neck, pushing his head down. His hands are still flat right now, flat and straight on the concrete, flat and straight. But once more pressure gets applied to his head,
back behind his back where you handcuff,
he reaches one hand to his face. That's why he moved his fucking hands. The lawyer's trying to say that he's justifying that they had to use excessive force because he wouldn't give their hands, but why did he? Because his face was getting smushed on the fucking concrete.
Okay, so are they walking him? They're walking him to the police car at that point?
No, his car had just crashed. It just stalled out on the middle of the road, and they kept ordering him to get out of the vehicle, and get on the ground. He got out the vehicle and got on the ground. And then they're approaching him to arrest him, but this is what they did when they arrested him.
Right, because on that picture right there, it looks like they're walking. I don't see them on the ground. Let me see. The original picture I saw looked like they were walking. Okay.
Yeah, they're walking up to him. They're walking up to him.
And so he's on the ground. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that's him on the ground right there.
His arms from his head, start to pull it back.
Officer comes from behind, puts his head in the ground.
Behind his back where you
moves his hand. Now the officer's grabbing his hand.
Handcuff the suspect. He pulled one of his arms away. So at that point, Officer Stevens is trying to maintain control of him. And that's when we see Mr. Branscombe.
Now they yank his ass up off the ground. He's bent back like a pretzel right now. They got him picked up.
Dive over towards the van, and Officer Stevens tackle him to the ground.
And he tackle him into his vehicle.
Yeah, it sort of belies logic that officer.
So that's the whole video of the incident. Now he's once again going to go back into arguing why his officers were right to beat him the fuck up and puncture his lung.
Stevens is going to try to pull up Mr. Branscombe, off the ground for some reason. When a split second later, he's diving on top of him. The record is replete and undisputed that he was just trying to.
If he wanted to get his arms around him, then he would do it that way.
But can we even dispute what the record says? I mean, aren't we locked? I mean, getting back to my question, aren't we locked into those four things I just discussed? We can't. If the district court says, I find that a jury could infer that the defendant, that the plaintiff in this case, Mr. Branscombe, did not resist. At this stage of the litigation, aren't we stuck with that?
Yes and no, because I don't believe the district court did the full Graham analysis. So I think the court was fixated on that one point, okay? But the Graham analysis is several different factors. I think if the court had run through those factors, and the court's report, the court's order is really short on reasoning on that point. So, and I don't believe the court even looked at it from the perspective of officers.
I take it that if he didn't resist, which I guess would include moving his hand, then there was no reason to pull him off the ground and put his arms around him and tackle him.
No, I don't agree with that, Your Honor, because of this context. This is the highest threat profile of these officers. They don't
So
need
your
to.
position is that even if he was prone on the ground and in fact not moving, they still could do that?
Yes, well, they can take every reasonable action they need to get this gentleman into custody.
So it's
without the
reasonable
benefit
to
of hindsight.
lift him up and tackle him and then start punching him and all that, even if he was prone on the ground and you could have just handcuffed him?
Yes, because when we're breaking down that one little.
I don't think he probably did understand everything she just said to him, but I'm gonna play it one more time. And he said yes to this.
That even if he was prone on the ground and in fact not moving, they still could do that?
Yes, well, they can take.
So even if he gave up, the lawyer's trying to argue, even if he gave up and he was not resisting, they had the right to beat his ass.
Well, he's trying to, explain his reason or justify, here's to the point, case in point, So that's where it looked like where he's going with it.
Hey, look, it's simple. Look, they got the right to beat his ass. They got the right to beat his ass, even if he gave up. Even if he gave up. It's like, that's crazy. That's crazy, but this is the argument in court. Amazing.
Every reasonable action they need to get this gentleman into custody.
So it's
without the
reasonable
benefit of
to
hindsight.
lift him up and tackle him and then start punching him and all that, even if he was prone on the ground and you could have just handcuffed him?
Yes, because when we're breaking down that one little critical moment, these officers are having to force to make these split-second decisions. So once Mr. Branscombe moves away, which we see in the video,
But that's the
and we see the rest of the
assumes
struggle.
the answer to the question of whether he resisted.
Well, but we see the resistance. We see
We see
him
him
hiding
moving
his
away, but
arms.
we don't know whether he's moving away because he's being tackled and lifted and tackled, or whether he's been moving away of his own accord. That's the question.
But Mr. Branscombe never provided any evidence to say that once he lay on the ground, he never resisted after that. He doesn't remember, so there's no evidence of that. So that's undisputed as far as I'm concerned.
And I think we're running out of time here, but counsel, I take it your point is that even in light of this type of chase, this type of danger, that even someone who is appearing to not resist, you read the 11th Circuit case law to permit at least some force to still be used.
Certainly, the higher the danger to the officers, the more latitude they're entitled to use some force to effect this arrest, which they had a lawful right to do. They had a lawful right to.
Y'all hear what he's saying? Even if the person is giving up, you're trying to say, and a court already ruled on this before, which is crazy, the 11th Circuit. Even if the person's not resisting and they gave up, there's still some force that can be used against them. We had a court in America that ruled that even when the person gave up, take me to jail, they can still apply force to them.
And then
Go ahead.
Well, and the question is, was he resisting? That's the route that they're trying to get to see if extra force was necessary. Was any force necessary? Was he resisting? Now it sounds like this guy has a track record. He had been in the system, in and out. So, and the fact that he had a rap sheet and he was eluding from the police or running from them was the mentality that, or at least they're making that the reason or excuse of why they attacked him, why they just pretty much assaulted this guy and ran up on him and beat him down like that, because we don't know if he's armed. We don't know if he has a record, when we know that, he's already in the system. He's already, got a rap sheet. So this is a hardcore criminal.
No, I'm saying, did they say he had a rap sheet?
The judge made that statement. You earlier. Did you miss that?
I had to miss it. I ain't hear him. I probably when I had to walk away for a second. Yeah, I missed it. I ain't hear him. But shit. Right. Correct.
So that's one of the lawyer's key points he's using as a justifiable cause to why they use excessive force. But the root to it is what the lady is trying to dig out is, was he resisting? So that's the case in point that the attorney needs to prove.
There you go. We're gonna keep going. Because I heard him a few times try to say what it was, but I don't think anybody's buying it.
To put their hands on this gentleman.
Well, they certainly did that. That's true when they did. But the question is whether. Well, I think we understand your argument. Thank you very much.
Thank you, counsel.
My name is Panos Lagos, and I do represent Jordan Branscombe. This case is about a citizen's clearly established right under
defense lawyer, y'all. This is the guy representing the guy that got beat up.
To the Fourth Amendment to be free from unreasonable seizure. This court should sustain the trial court's decision with respect to denying the qualified immunity request made by the defendants.
If under the Supreme Court case law, if we looked at that tape and we said, she's just wrong. I mean, you can just see clearly that he was resisting. And I'm not saying I'm saying that, but if we could look at that tape and say that, then would we still be bound in terms of Scott versus Harrod and Plumhoff by her summary judgment determination if the tape were clear?
If the tape were clear that it showed
that it didn't show what she said, that there was no way you could look at that tape and think that he didn't resist.
Right. Hypothetical, he had an axe and he starts swinging it at the police officers, and somehow the trial judge just missed that.
Yes, you could review that. Yes. And in answer to your earlier question of counsel posed by the panel that was not directly answered, the panel does have the authority to review a finding of the trial court on what the trial court views as a material fact in the case. The materiality of that fact can be reviewed.
But is there any issue of that in this case? I gather the issue is what happened, not whether there's a material.
Good question. The only fact that was found to be material, which is how do we interpret this video? What did happen? And the judge basically said she couldn't tell, and it is in dispute, and that cannot be decided by her. And it is a material fact. I have to agree with the judge that interpreting this tape.
That her determination with regard to the disputed material facts as to your client's resistance was both as to the initial instigation and what happened afterwards.
No, she did not say that because of this chase that was material to a determination of the propriety of the force.
I'm talking about whether he resisted. I mean, my understanding is that if the initial force, although relatively minor, i.e. picking him up and tackling him, was completely unjustified because he didn't resist at that point at all. But they did it. And if he then resists, let's say, was she then saying, well, he didn't resist after that either? Or was she saying that because the officers claimed that he was kicking and flailing and so on? And there was certainly a tussle going on, but it could have been in reaction or involuntary reaction to what was happening to him. So is she saying that, i.e. he never resisted? Or is she saying that any later resistance was essentially a reasonable response to the provocation, or it doesn't matter what she was saying?
She didn't say either way.
Well, I thought she said sort of generally he didn't resist.
No, as to what occurred after he was pulled off the ground, whether or not he was resisting during the wrestling that was going on, she didn't say anything. But I think what can be reasonably inferred is that, as I said in my brief, whether or not he was pulled up off this position, a tactically inappropriate move as admitted by the police chief, frames the use of force that then occurred and or any resistance that later occurred. As you said, if he was provoked unnecessarily so that people could inflict the punishment they did, that does frame the force issues.
I mean, not if he had punched them or something, but there's no allegation that he did that.
That my client did?
Yes.
No, there's none. There's no claim.
They're saying he was kicking and flailing, essentially.
That is said, but we don't see it, but that is what is said.
Counsel, going back to a point that opposing counsel was making, I think we all can agree that the events that led up to this were very dangerous, very scary. Your client then is on the ground. He picks up his head, and I believe he says, "I didn't do anything." Now, an officer, I think, could interpret that as he's not complying because he's get down, he's kind of rearing up. Then when they get on top of him, then we see him being, I think, pulled up, and the whole taser and the whole thing happens. Why is counsel wrong that in a situation where someone has engaged in this type of conduct, that the officers can apply at least some level of force to this guy to make sure he's really compliant, because he hasn't been compliant for that whole chase. I mean, for 20 minutes, they have sirens on. He wasn't stopping. The only reason why it stopped was because the van got caught up. Those 11th Circuit cases, I'd like to hear your response to those.
Let me answer your question first.
Sure.
What transpired before is everything that you've described, but he surrenders. And at that point, the job of the police is just to simply take him into custody. And I agree, there is some force that an officer is entitled to use to accomplish that task. And the question is, under Graham, was it necessary force and appropriate force under all the circumstances? So I don't disagree with force. Now, the question is...
But doesn't it also have to be the case, in light of what happened earlier, that they are entitled to be somewhat...
rougher with the guy.
Not rougher. What I meant to say was something a little different. That they are that a very small appearance of resistance could have been taken seriously in light of the fact that he was so out of control earlier. right?
It should be taken seriously, but the training that is supposed to kick in is to follow their training.
So if, for example, they really you thought that he took his hand out from the when the officer tried to put his hand on him, he pulled his hand out and put it under his waist. That's what they claim, right? Now, if that happened, quite aside from whether he got up on his knees, would that be a reason to pull him up and tackle him, given what happened earlier?
Would it be a reason? No, it'd be tactically very inappropriate. It would expose the officers to a very dangerous situation. The most opportune position for handcuffing is to be in the position that he was ordered to go to. That's why he was.
But I'm positing that he, in a fairly small way that in other circumstances maybe they couldn't react to, but that given the fact that he had shown himself to be quite out of control in terms of his concerns about danger, maybe they could react to it more than they could otherwise. So in other words, the context has something to do with this.
Most definitely it does, and I want to get to the distinguishing of the defendant's cases. My answer to your question is it's very factually dependent on a given situation, just as Graham tells us. When he's in that position and he's been ordered to show his hands and he's complied, there are a couple of things that should be triggering here. He's complying, number one. He's helpless, number two.
Okay, but I don't know what the tape shows about this, and I'm going to see. But if we could say from the tape that they're right, when Stevens tried to grab his right arm, he pulled his arm out away from Stevens and he put it under his stomach, which could have suggested that he had something there. I suppose we thought the tape showed that. Now, first of all, did the judge rule on whether the tape showed that? Is that part of her determination there was no resistance?
No, she did not make that determination. She couldn't tell. That's what she
couldn't
said.
tell is what I meant. That was part of her determination that you couldn't tell.
Yes.
So we would be bound by that.
Yes.
But if we thought it did show that, definitely.
Then could you employ Scott versus Harris to substitute your judgment? Yes, you could.
And if we did, then the lifting up and tackling him might have been okay.
It might have been, but
So you understand that her determination encompasses that as well.
I do. And
not just whether he got on his knees.
But I'm here to tell you, and I've been telling the world that since we have Scott versus Harris employing that reasoning, and given what this tape does show, it does show unnecessary and inappropriate force throughout the surrender. And when you employ the Graham factors, he can't come here and say there was a significant risk of harm to the officer or anyone else when my client surrendered. That is the critical point in time that my case starts. It started in San Leandro 23 miles earlier. Yes, that's what led up to it. But the job of the officers were very simple. And tactically, they didn't follow they were neither honest and didn't follow proper tactics. And they inflicted unnecessary and inappropriate force.
What does the record show, by the way, about the...
No, he's right. He's right. And I get what the judges are doing. They're trying to play devil's advocate. So when the police attorney came up, they were questioning him on his stuff, giving him pushback, and they're questioning him. It seems like somebody, not going to say who, second guy, old man, seems to be better at arguing his case because his case kind of stands. It's like, yeah, it began 22 minutes ago. Yeah, he did run from the motherfuckers. But when they got to him and he was done, he was on the ground, there was no reason to do what they did to him. There was no reason to do all that. He gave up. And she's trying to be devil's advocate, trying to say, well, the first judge was like, well, he lifted his head. Could they perceive that as being something? Moving his arm. Could they perceive that as something? Maybe he had something in the waistband. Even though they already saw the video. They already played the video. But they're being devil's advocates. So I get it. But this old man, I think he's going to win this one. What you got, Ms. Jackson?
Yeah, man. It's pretty evident and clear that he's, surrendered. Never resisted. He ran from them, eluding them. But once, he wasn't able to escape and they came up on him, he surrendered. I mean, hey, it was 4 or 5 officers against one guy. And once they, approached him and see he had no weapon or anything, then there was no need for excessive force. So, yeah. And the lady did ask a question earlier. It kind of slipped my mind. I was trying to recall it. But it was like, what, to the keeper, it'll come back to me in a little bit, but it was is she serious about that key point?
Yeah, see, that's what got me with a lot of them. I think they playing devil's advocate, which is interesting. I wouldn't be a judge like that. I just want to hear the case and look at the evidence and let me hear your arguments. I wouldn't try to play devil's advocate, but I guess that's to get some type of understanding. But let's keep playing it. It'll come back to you.
If anything, about the injuries to your client.
Oh, the injuries? A punctured lung, $40,000 of bills, a bruised up face, and a back and an eye issue. And photographs to go with it. Photographs that show his face that was not injured when he first exited the
How did he
car.
hit the punctured lung?
Not clear. I mean, he was struck. You see him in a violent tussle? That's a good question. I don't know. It could have been a fist. Distinguishing the cases. I didn't even read them, but I read them for the last 4 weeks just to prepare for today, because I didn't think they would ever find a case where a person had totally surrendered in plain view, no matter what that person did, that would justify pulling a person up and inflicting the punishment that I saw. And indeed, when I read the cases, they do distinguish. They have very grossly distinguishing facts. People hiding in between dumpsters, hiding in the woods, a person exiting a car. This is after they committed some serious felonies. Person exiting his vehicle after the stop, and the dog had already been released because it was a drug call. And so, unfortunately, when the gentleman getting out of the car claims he got on the ground, which is all contradicted, said the court, the dog had him for a second or two, 5 or 10 seconds before they pulled the dog off. Totally different factually from our case, total surrender case. And I have to come back to Graham. Graham was utilized as the basis for the defendant officers for the denial of their qualified immunity motion in Blankenhorn. Similar circumstances. And the court said, you don't have to go back further than Graham to know that you cannot inflict any unnecessary and inappropriate force on a subdued person. Now, what is subdued is a good question. We have many cases cited by the defendants where we have it established you can't inflict any force or use any force on a handcuffed person. But in Blankenhorn, they noted that the person who was on the ground was in the control of the officers. This officer had every ability to control the situation, and he chose not to. And he did so at the peril of his own officers, and for all the reasons we hear in their brief. He pulled him up off the ground. He denied doing that. So I'm here to ask the court under Scott versus Harris and Rule 57A and the prior authorities in this circuit that permit for that where a video contradicts the version of the facts by another party. I heard Mr. Blaskin say that he denied that the officer pulled him up. He didn't think it happened. He's not entitled to that. I have a video that says otherwise, and it's an insult to all of us to pretend that didn't happen here. It did happen.
You're not asking us to grant summary judgment for you.
I am.
Is that in your brief?
Yes, it is.
Do we have authority to do that?
I sure do.
No, we don't.
I have given you the authority, and I can give you more. I've asked you under the Rule 56F. I've made a cross motion, and as I'm entitled to.
But we don't have authority over the summary judgment motion.
Yeah, it's an interlocutory appeal.
I ask you to read the authorities, and I'll start with Keystone Land and Development Company of this circuit, 353 Fed 3rd, 1070, a 2003 case.
Is that a qualified immunity case?
No, but it's a decision of this circuit that granted the non-appealing party judgment under this rule and the authority set forth in 28 USC section 2106.
Defeating request.
What's that?
Because if we have the authority to do that, then we have the authority to review the district court's determination that there was in fact a material.
You might not be happy with the result. We were called on to issue summary judgment in this case right now.
I hear you, but you do have the authority in 28 USC section 2106, Scott versus Harris. And the authorities I cited in my brief in the conclusion, starting with Morgan Guaranty Trust Company. Again, the court in that case said it wasn't necessary for the non-appealing party to have judgment entered in their favor after cross motions of summary judgment, even though it was not an issue.
The only circumstances is when it's quote inextricably intertwined, and this whole set of law says it isn't inextricably intertwined. That the qualified immunity question is a separate question.
I understand the point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Counsel said that.
Look, he trying to get up out of there. And you're like, look, man, it's clear and it's obvious. So look, we just trying to get their qualified immunity taken away. And think about it, y'all. This is all about getting the qualified immunity taken away. So then they can go on into court and know that they can sue the officers individually and the police department. That's all this is about right now. It's not even about whether they're wrong or not. It's about taking away the qualified immunity. All these different steps to get something simple done. We saw them cops beat that dude up.
That we did not cite one case, or we only cited a case or something to that effect about this last minute surrender issue. Well, in fact, there's 3 cases that talk about even if a suspect appears to be potentially surrendering, there's been 3 cases, Johnson, Crenshaw, and the case that followed them, Holloway, that said even if a dog comes up and bit a suspect who supposedly had surrendered, one case, dog bit the gentleman 31 times. That was not found to be a Fourth Amendment violation. And the Johnson case.
Coincidence, those cases are all about dogs. Dogs aren't people, and they don't know whether the guy's surrendering, and the dog has already been released by that point.
Well, that's an interesting question.
What?
That's an interesting question. I don't know, but I think obviously in this circuit, dogs are more severe force than an officer who might have, in a split moment, pulled up a suspect to try to gain control. The Johnson case specifically says, and I think it answers Judge Owen's question, that not all surrenders, however, are genuine. The police are entitled to err on the side of caution when faced with an uncertain or threatening situation. What we just did today, Your Honors, in this nice confines here, is analyze these split-second decisions of these officers faced with one of the most threatening situations and unpredictable situations that they could face. I don't believe, even if we assume that Mr. Branson came off the ground a little bit by Officer Stevens, that was a provocation.
In order for you to prevail on the qualified immunity, I presume, but this is why it's a jury question, or on the Fourth Amendment issue, you would have to say, or in the qualified immunity, that even though he wasn't resisting, they could have thought he was resisting.
Correct, because this is viewed not from Mr. Branscom's thought process, or I was giving up. It's viewed from the perspective of officers, and officers are supposed to get allowance for having to make these really difficult split-second decisions, not only with their mind, but with their bodies to react to these situations. And certainly everybody, I think, concedes this was of the utmost threat profile that officers could face.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Counsel.
for arguing in a difficult case. Branscombe versus San Ramon Police.
Yeah, that dude, he been losing his hair lying for motherfucking people that are evil. Lying for people that's been wronging folks. That's why he ain't got no hair in his head. Let's see what the judgment is, because I think they actually gave a judgment.
Department is submitted, and we go to the last case of the day.
Jordan ultimately pleaded guilty to various charges related to the chase and spent almost 2 years in jail. However,
All right. Now, the guy that was driving, the one that got beat up, pled guilty, spent almost 2 years in jail.
Upon his release, he received $240,000 after settling for the injuries he suffered during his arrest. The department had decided to settle just before the trial began, as the circuit courts affirmed that the officers were not entitled to qualified immunity.
So they didn't win qualified immunity. Think about this, y'all. Went through this whole process, and I'm going to play it again. Went through this whole fucking process and tried their best to fight it. And when it was about to go to trial after they lost qualified immunity, it's like, nah, just give them $200,000 of the taxpayer money. Yeah, just write a check for that. Just write a check for that. We ain't trying to go to trial. Listen to him say it again.
$1,000 after settling for the injuries he suffered during his arrest. The department had decided to settle just before the trial began, as the circuit courts affirmed that the officers were not entitled to qualified immunity. Despite losing their qualified immunity, the taxpayers were still forced to pay for the officers' wrongdoings through indemnification, which allows a municipality to take responsibility for its employees' actions and pass the buck on to you. Let me know what you think.
So picture that. Picture that. They went through all this waste taxpayer money to try to argue against harming this dude to protect their officers. And then after they lost that ability to protect their officers and they were going to get sued, they said, fuck it. Look, we're going to do our officers a favor. We're not going to let y'all get sued. We're not going to let them come after you personally. We're just going to take the taxpayer dollars for y'all fucking this guy up, and we're just going to pay him, and we'll just let it go like that. That's what we're going to do. We already got him locked up. He's doing 2 years. So we'll just give him the taxpayer money. That is, Mr. Jackson, give me your thoughts. That's so interesting. That's so interesting right there. I'm coming right back on here.
Man, outrageous, man. And it's ridiculous. This has been going on forever. And it looks like a big repeat to me of Rodney King, that he was on a simple stop, or even if you have a warrant for a person's arrest or a traffic stop, whatever the case may be, and the officers just violently attack this guy. It's caught on camera. We have the receipts. The public and society can see that this individual rights were violated. And why is there a trial? Why are we going to trial? What is the need to go through protocol and procedures of a justification or rationalizing the officer's actions? Plus, on top of that, someone else pays for it. You know, they were found on qualified immunity, and somebody else pays for the officers' taxpayers. We do pay for their actions, and the city, I believe I heard a part of that as well. But that's a repeat, man, of Rodney King back in the 1990s in LA, you know, when I was living there at the time. And, you know, LA's a diehard blue state, California rather, diehard blue state, and they don't play. When they snapped and had the riot, they meant business. They gave them the business. So, you know, but what is the purpose of a trial when we have the receipts and the video to see that this individual's rights were violated? That's where we're at.
No, I agree with you. It's just amazing how some people will still sit here, like, because we done covered a good little bit of videos tonight. Like, it went from we having a what was the first video I covered? Mistaken vehicle. Can't even get the vehicle right. Can't even get the vehicle right and put a citizen's life in danger. And then, you know, the taxpayers are going to pay for that because you pull the guns out on this dude, you blocked him off, put him in handcuffs. He was technically arrested. People need to understand when they put handcuffs on you, you are technically arrested in a lot of states. Now, some states, they'll say you're just detained, but technically handcuffs on you warrants an arrest. They can release you, but you were still arrested. In the next video, a guy just not even wanting to talk to him. After having a conversation with him, not even wanting to talk to him. And they tased him. I don't think they tased him, but they threw this old man to the ground. Next video, cops see a person dying, just walking the fuck away from him. Into this final video of this man doing something wrong and running from him. But once he couldn't get away, like Ms. Jackson said, he couldn't get away no more. He knew he couldn't. He gave up. And you still beat the shit out of him. In all of these situations, the taxpayers are going to end up paying for that shit. That's going to be, you might need some new roads in your city. The school in that area might need some upgrades. The kids might need new football jerseys. Ain't no telling, man, we might need to get some of these teachers some raises. We can't do that now because the people that are taking your tax dollars are out here violating people. So now they got to spend your money to pay them because they don't want to deal with it themselves personally. I don't know how many people are going to be okay with that type of shit. Well, I know there's a lot of people that are okay with that. But it's like you said, when that Rodney King shit was happening back then, a lot of people didn't give a fuck because you saw who the people they were doing it to. And I tell you, when you don't speak up, when they doing it to other folks, what's going to happen when they do it to you? And that video just showed right there, they fucked that white dude up. They fucked that white dude up. He had to come back and sue him, even after being in jail. Think about it, get out of jail and get $200,000. Ain't that nice? Like, yeah, I was out here committing crimes. Yeah, they fucked me up, though. See, I'm getting paid. This shit crazy, man. They do it, man. Look, I just don't. People need to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to dealing with the police. But before I rant, because I don't want to, Ms. Jackson, give me your final thoughts on the show tonight.
All right, final thoughts for the night. I feel like this is where we're at in the moment. You know, we don't too tough have to worry about a lot more of these trials and stuff to be concerned about when we have these executive orders being passed in the White House, you know, from Donald Trump, of course, for police immunity, where they're not, there's no accountability being held for their actions, that they can commit a crime, violate your rights, the constitutional amendments, the law that they are supposed to protect and serve for, and you know, pretty much they're justified, they're covered, are insured behind it through all these executive orders that Trump is passing right now as we speak. You know, I didn't hear anything pertaining to administration leave without pay. No charges were being pressed. Anything of them paying a price as a result of their negative behavior and negligence being as a duty to law enforcement that they made a vow and a code to when they were sworn in as an officer. You know, hey, this is not a game. You know, this is people livelihood, people lives, and this is a career that police officers choose to get involved in. And they get sworn in just like politicians get sworn in, and our vice presidents and presidents and so forth. and you make a duty, a vow to that order. So, California had Rodney King back. When I say they gave them the business, that riot was bad, man. I was there. What I experienced and seeing my own, that was a bad riot. They, like I said, California is a diehard blue state, and they don't tolerate, got zero tolerance for discrimination, race, prejudice, racism, anything of that nature. So, but yeah, it was like history repeats itself. And final thoughts for the night, we got to fight harder. Kamala tried to encourage us. We're not going back, to the 1950s. People have sacrificed their lives. People have been unalived and put in prison, and families being destroyed and separated for our freedom, for our vote and our voice, which is our power. And after all of this, we're going to pay homage to our ancestors and our leaders before us to go back to the 1950s. It's unbelievable. We got to fight harder. We got to rise up. We got to educate. We got to inform. We have to encourage our young people, because it's their generation. It's very important, for the young people that change is detrimental at this point. And man, it's Project 2025 is serious. It's real. It's coming into effect. So, hey, we just got to keep doing what we do, man. Teaching, informing, is power and unity, and never give up. Exercise, know your rights, exercise your rights, and your voice is your power. Final thoughts for the night.
All right, now I ain't gonna hold you. Look, man, stop talking to these motherfuckers if you ain't gotta talk to them, man. Like, I'm being dead serious, man. Look, until we get to the point where we gonna have more people calling out this nonsense and standing unified, like Ms. Jackson was saying, this shit's gonna persist. It's gonna persist, and we have somebody that is in office. Why do I always do this right when I get to the end, man? I'm saying some profound, like whatever that big word is, trying to say some shit, and this shit won't act funny. All right, look, man, I'm gonna try to slide this real quick.
We got froze up for a second. Yeah,
this shit was some bullshit. But look, man, we do got somebody in office that wants to give carte blanche immunity to officers. We need to say something about this shit. We need to call this out, man. Nobody should have to go through this. I don't even care if you committed a crime. The officer's job is to arrest you and let the judges and juries deal with that shit. And you serve your time, if they find you guilty. They're not the judge, jury, and executioner out here on the street. And we as Americans need to stop being okay with this shit, because when it goes wrong, we're the ones who pay for it, because they've set up a system so fine and so good that they will never be truly held accountable. You saw 2 officers walk away from somebody that needed their life saved. They didn't even try. And they didn't fire them. They didn't charge them. The only thing they did was try to come for their fucking license. Like, we gotta be real about this shit, y'all. If they gonna sign up to do a job, like Ms. Jackson said, they signed up to do this job. You're not forced to do this job. You need to do it to the highest level. And if you fuck up in your position, you should be held to a higher standard than any of us, me, her, any other civilian out here. We didn't swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. You did. I know about it when I was in the service. I had to abide by that shit. And there's more restrictions on people in the military than it is for people that are police officers in this country, which is fucking amazing to me. But look, I hope y'all get on the gravy train, man. Look, don't feel no type of way if you got to call out bad behavior in police officers. You should not feel no type of way, and don't let nobody try to shame you. If they wrong, they wrong. Just like if you wrong, you wrong. When you right, you're right. Hold that shit to the road. Everybody got to be accountable for their own actions. But look, man, it's been fun. It's been great. I appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight. If you was watching over on the network, watching over on Let's Talk, or watching over on Facebook, man, hit the follow, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share the videos, turn the notices on, all that in the bag of chips. And we'll be right back here again doing this next Thursday, but we also will be live tomorrow because it's Friday, and you know I like to have fun on Friday. But we don't get the fuck up out of here, and we'll catch y'all in the next one as always, man. Peace.
Don't tell me about me. Stop telling me about me. Stop
telling me about me. Stop telling me about me. Stop telling me about me. I don't need you to tell me about me.